Hello YouTube, Dave here again. It is time for another pickup video. Before I start getting into the more recent things, there is one thing that I really wanted to show here because I don't think I had featured it in any of the other videos that I have done for pickup stuff. And I went back to the times where I would have been able to show this, and I just never found it. So if I did mention another video, I apologize, but I just couldn't find it. But the first thing I want to show here is actually the Sega Genesis Mini. So this is sort of their answer to like the NES Classic and Super Nintendo Classic and stuff like that. And I've shown, that I had those as well as the PlayStation Classic and even the Commodore 64 Mini. So, but I think I sort of missed this one because I actually bought this right on release day. So I picked it up way back in, I think it was like September or October of 2019. Anyway, this really cool little system here. I was never really a Genesis fan growing up. I never had one. I did borrow one from her for a little while, sort of exchanged my Super Nintendo with a friend's Sega Genesis for a few weeks, but there's just a ton of games on here that I never got the chance to play back then. Like Comic Zone was one that I'm really looking forward to. I haven't really delved into this too much, but Comic Zone was one, Contra Hardcore, Castlevania Bloodlines, and then there's just some awesome RPGs on here as well, like Beyond Oasis is one of them, Shining Force, and then Phantasy Star 4. So there's just a lot of really cool stuff on here that I need to hook this up to my TV and give it a bit more of a go. Earthworm Jim, the original one, just some great stuff here. I did play a little bit of like Altered Beast, and I know it was the original pack-in, but and then Sonic 1 and 2. Sonic 3 is not there, but there's always like licensing stuff with that, and I'm not overly concerned about that. But anyway, like I said, I don't recall ever having mentioned this before, so if I haven't, then I just wanted to sort of have it archived here on video because this thing is pretty cool. I have no intentions of getting like the Tower of Doom, which is just, like an excessive expensive pieces of like just plastic that you stack on to make it look like the old Model 1 Genesis with the Model 1 Sega CD 32X, and then like Sonic the Hedgehog. I can't remember if it had the Sonic and Knuckles cart too. Anyway, but this is just something I wanted to show just to make sure that I have it on video somewhere. So there's that. Alright, so the first thing that I'm looking to show here is a copy of Star Trek Adventures, the role-playing game. This is the core rulebook. So I had the starter set to this that I picked up a while ago, actually. It's almost a year ago that I picked that up. And honestly, I'm kind of forgot to go back, and I wanted to do like a full review of it. And I still want to do that, but I also kind of wanted to have the core rulebook to go along with it because it was sort of standing out as the only starter set that I had that wasn't connected to any other books or products in my collection, and I'm a huge Star Trek fan, so this was sort of something that, again, I had the funds available to me, and there's nothing really else for me to do with them, right now, and the funds that I get, they're not, it's just extra spending money for me, so I figured, this would be a good time to just pick up a few things that I've wanted to get for a while and just never got around to doing, so this was pretty high on that list. So really cool stuff. I will be doing a review of this at some point, and what's most likely is by the time this video comes out, that will probably already be done, because I'm looking to just record bits and pieces of stuff that I get over the next few months and put it all into one video once I have enough stuff to really do a full video on. So like I said, by the time this actually comes out, I will probably have already recorded my full review of it, as well as my review of the starter set, but again, just a really cool item that I'm glad to finally have. And then up next, something else along those lines, something I've been wanting to get for quite a while now, for years actually, but just never pulled the trigger on until, well, couple of weeks ago, but it took time to get here. But it did arrive very recently, well, the day I'm recording this section of the video anyway. But this is the Pathfinder First Edition Beginner Box. So this is sort of the starter set or the intro set to the First Edition Pathfinder game. I'm starting to go back and get a little bit of a First Edition Pathfinder collection. Mainly it's in the form of the pocket editions. In fact, with the exception of the core rulebook, it is entirely pocket editions that I have been picking up. But still, you know, this was something that I've wanted to get for a while now, and I loved the Starfinder one. And again, I just sort of been getting a little bit more into wanting to find some like different starter set type stuff to have, because I just love box sets, and there were only 3 left online at for the Chapters website, which is the Canadian bookstore that I got this from. So anyway, right now it's still sealed, although the seal is broken a little bit there. But this is not one that I'm going to be keeping sealed, and like I said, by the time this video comes out, my unboxing was probably already been out for a while, but still, so this is when I ended up picking this up, and at the time that I'm recording this section of the video, it is April 27th, so that's what we have there so far. For the next item in the pickups here, I finally got my copy of the Advanced Player's Guide. This came in a couple weeks after I got the original order, in which I thought I had this in there, but as it turns out I had removed the wrong item from my cart and had the Advanced Class Guide instead, so I corrected that, was able to go back and pick this up, and I'm really looking forward to using this for my Through the Ages videos on like the Barbarian and all the other major iconic D&D/Pathfinder classes, so I really look forward to that. And honestly, I just kind of glad to have this back in my collection. I used to own the hardcover when I thought I was going to be playing in a Pathfinder game, but ended up moving away, and it just, I knew I was never going to use it. At least at the time I thought I was never going to use it, so I ended up trading it into my local game store. And it, you know, that was a couple of years ago, so it's not like it was a recent thing. But I'm glad to have this back, and I'm really loving these pocket editions. I think they're just absolutely fantastic, and yeah, it's just a great way to fill out a collection, because they're cheaper, they take up less room, and it has all the same stuff in there. So really awesome pickup there. Alright, so up next, I picked up a copy of Into the Borderlands. This is the Goodman Games sort of classic or original adventures reincarnated series of books. This is the first one, and I wasn't initially planning on getting this, but I've always sort of, for the last few months, I've always contemplated getting it, and it's always sort of been in the back of my mind. And I also really want to get the third entry in the series, which is all about the expedition to the Barrier Peaks. But one of the things about it is that they actually number the books on the spine. So I just have this weird obsessive compulsive thing about not wanting to have number 3 of something on my shelf, but not 1 and 2. Even though I already have the original modules, and I also have the subject of the second book, which is Isle of Dread, I'm still kind of looking forward to getting all of those, and the store I was able to get this from was actually selling it at a pretty decent price. It's $50 US, but that would work out to around $72 or $73 or something like that, plus tax, which is 15% sales tax here in Canada, in Nova Scotia. So it was going to be a very expensive book, which was the thing that was holding me back. But this was actually only $60 plus tax, which was a little more reasonable. And at the time that I'm recording this, I am getting closer to my 37th birthday, so I figured, you know, why not treat myself to this. And it's also has like updated 5th edition versions of Into the Unknown and Keep on the Borderlands. So this is something that I think once we get back into being able to run games in public at the stores that we were doing them at before, this will probably be the next 5th edition game that I start running. So really looking forward to reading that more. Okay, next things here, these were all sent to me by Paizo, and there's actually going to be some more stuff probably later on in this video, because I'm doing this over a period of time before I release the full video. So there is some other stuff that is on its way in a separate separate package, and there may even be a third one. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to see what happens in the next week or so, at least from the time that I'm recording this segment. But the first thing that was sent to me was the Starfinder Near Space book. Now, this was one that I was really looking forward to when it was announced. This is the one that goes into, it takes you outside of the Pact worlds, and it really details the Veskarium, where like the Vesk are from. It's a star system that gets mentioned a lot in some of the other Starfinder books, so I was always really interested in it. And it has other planets outside of the Veskarium as well, so a lot of really cool stuff there. But one of the things that I like the most about this, and it's just a really nice little touch that I'm glad that they did do this, inside the Starfinder covers, and I'll show this when I do the actual review for this, which you'll probably have already seen the review before you see this. But in all the other Starfinder books, on the inside covers they have the Pact World system, with like their sun, and then Absalon Station and all of those. It's on the insides of like the core rule book, the Alien Archives, the Armory, character operations manual. It's just sort of the standard inside cover art. However, with this one, it actually gives us the Veskarium instead. And I just think that is super cool, with Vesk Prime, and then there's the different planets. I mean, they're not cleverly titled, but the Veskarium isn't really a poetic race, so it makes sense. It's very utilitarian and gets the point across. But it just looks so cool. So that was just a really nice touch that they probably didn't have to do. Like, if they hadn't done that and it was still the Pact Worlds on the inside cover, I don't think I would have noticed it or thought that there was anything unusual about it, but that is a really nice touch. And just flipping through it, there's also some cool things in there, like referencing the deck of many worlds as a way to sort of fill in some things. So there's just some cool stuff in here overall. So really happy to have that in my collection. Up next, they also sent me a copy of the Age of Ashes Pathfinder Pawn Collection. Now, I am hoping to do, and again, I don't know if it'll be out exactly by the time that this video is done or not, but I am looking to do a full review of the Age of Ashes storyline. And in fact, some of the other things that are on their way are going to be the 5th and 6th installment of that campaign path, because weirdly they've been very difficult to find in my area. The major bookstore chain only ever carried the first issue or the first installment, and then other bookstores seem to have stopped or just never seem to have more than the first 4 in stock. So I'm looking forward to being able to do the whole thing. But I always loved the pawn collections. They were always they're always some of my favorite products. A great way to have the miniatures that you need without spending a ton of money, and these ones here are connected to the actual storylines, give you all of the unique creatures or NPCs that you would normally run into over the course of the campaign. I have some of the Starfinder ones, and I absolutely love them. And this is actually the campaign that I was running and hope to be running again very soon, once the pandemic stuff is sort of settled. So yeah, really looking forward to this, and just always love these products anyway. They're just quality stuff. And then the last thing from this first package anyway, this is the, oh my god, this is the Pathfinder Bestiary battle cards. So this is your stat block cards for Pathfinder 2nd edition for the original Bestiary. I don't think this covers anything from the Bestiary 2 because it has a 2019 copyright date. But you get like 450 cards in here, and I mean, this thing is absolutely huge, and it weighs a ton. So just for a little perspective, here is the Starfinder Critical Hit deck. So this is just a box that had the like a 52 card deck in it, and as you can see, like it just you can fit 3 of those on the front, and then like 2 of them on the top, so you could fit like 5 of these on the surface area for just the front cover alone. So Just really just awesome. And I have to say, I am really thankful that they offered to send these to me. I never asked about them, I didn't inquire, but they did offer to send them to me because, I mean, 450 cards. It retails for $60 US, and that would have translated to around $85 Canadian. Plus, in Nova Scotia here, we pay 15% tax, so that was going to be a lot of money. So they were willing to send these, and this was something that I was going to get come heck or high water, because I really wanted to have these. But thankfully, they were willing to send them, especially right now where I had to leave my job for the stuff with the global pandemic, and I don't think I'll be going back to it. So, you know, income might be a little bit of an issue going forward. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're just here to talk about some cool stuff that's come in. So that is the latest as of May 10th. So we'll see if there's anything else to come in the next few days, and we'll go from there. Right, next item in this pickup video, this long-term pickup video, is the Alien Archive 3 for Starfinder. I have to be honest, I'm almost surprised that it took me as long to get this book as it did. It's just one of those things that around the time that it came out, there was just so many other things I was trying to keep up with at the time that something had to fall to the wayside. And unfortunately, this was the one that ended up taking the back seat, but I finally decided to pick it up. It was on sale through my local bookstore, or I shouldn't say my local bookstore, or through their online service, because the bookstores are currently closed. But they did have this on sale, and I did pick this up, ordered this just a few weeks before my birthday, so the chapters actually bumped up my rewards points to give me a certain amount of money off of my next purchase, and I put it to use with picking this up here. So really happy to have this in my collection, and I'm looking forward to going through it, reading through it, and doing a review which may or may not be out by the time that this video releases. So if you haven't seen my review on this yet, if it hasn't been released yet, it'll probably be coming out pretty shortly thereafter, so be sure to check that out. Alright, next package that was sent to me, it was from Paizo, and the things that were sent this time around were a copy of the Pathfinder Bestiary 2 for the 2nd edition Pathfinder role-playing game. Love Pathfinder 2e, love monster books in general, and there's some really cool stuff in this, which I probably don't have to say at this point because this video is going to be coming out, I would say, probably well after I actually get my review for this product out, but really thankful for Paizo offering to send this to me. It's just been great to help keep my mind occupied during everything that's been going on in the world. So I cannot thank them enough for the generosity and for their support. And yeah, so it's really great to have that. They also sent a copy of the Pathfinder chase cards. This is again for the 2nd edition Pathfinder role-playing game, and chase rules were introduced in the Game Mastery Guide, and they're something that I'm really looking forward to working with. And this deck in particular, I think, is going to be a lot of fun to go through and to use. I do want to create a chase scene for a Facebook like bounty hunting adventure scenario that I've been doing sporadically during the quarantine. So this is going to be something that's going to help out with that quite a bit, and it's just a great way to get some skills thrown into you know, a scenario. It sort of replaces your standard combat system with a series of skill checks that you need to overcome some obstacles and stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to delving into this as well. Alright, up next we have a couple of birthday pickups. So my birthday's in May. So these were things that I got as like birthday gifts, or that I used birthday money to pick up. They're both related. They're also both related to a previous pickup from earlier in the video. So let's just get right to it here. So first up we have the second in the series of original adventures reincarnated by Goodman Games. This is the Isle of Dread. And so these things are the original adventures reincarnated. it's a product line where they take classic modules from D&D's past, and usually ones that are pretty well regarded or have a pretty decent history behind them. There could be like some significance to them. In the case of Isle of Dread, the significance was this was one of, if not the first module released that had a heavy emphasis on wilderness exploration instead of just traditional dungeon crawling. So in these books, there'll usually be 2 printings of the original module with its original rule set. In this case, it would be the D&D Basic Expert Rules, Rule Cyclopedia, Beckme D&D, whichever iteration that you want to use. It should work pretty well with all of those. And the 2 printings will usually have some sort of differences between each other. It could be artwork, it could be just some editing. For example, with the Into the Borderlands one, I think it was the B1, B1 or B2, yeah, B1 I think it was. The original printing had a section on converting it to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. But the later printing didn't have that in there. So it just shows some of the differences between them. And then there is an updated version for 5th edition, which is really cool because it's a way for younger players who are just getting into the hobby now to experience some of these classics without having to go back and learn a whole new rule set. And a rule set that, if we can be painfully honest, is not as user-friendly as what we have now with the D20 system. So I think it's great for stuff like that. And this is a classic adventure as well. So yeah, really happy to have this. But the next one was the reason I started buying these books in the first place, which was book number 3, The Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. Now, this is the reason that I got the other 2 at first was just because I wanted to get this one, and they are numbered on the spine and on the front cover, so it was something that I knew would drive me kind of up the wall. But thankfully, I was able to actually get these from a store that was selling them for about $15 cheaper than I would have expected the retail price to be, based on conversion between US and Canadian dollars. And they were also only charging the federal portion of our sales tax, which saved like 10% as well on top of everything else. So really, really cool to have these. But Expedition to the Barrier Peaks is first of all, it's a tournament scenario where the other 2 were included in like the basic rule set and the expert rule set respectively. So this is like a tournament one that was actually run at Origins, and this is also for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So this isn't for the D&D Basic Expert Rules like the other 2 were, but that's fine. I haven't actually looked into this one too much yet at all. So with stuff like this, essentially, with everything that's going on right now, we've sort of quarantined things for a few days, just to make sure that they weren't somehow exposed. And I just pulled this out of the closet like an hour before I started recording this portion of the video. So I'm really, really looking forward to this. But Expedition to the Barrier Peaks is another really fondly remembered module, because as you can sort of see here, you've got, this weird alien Lovecraftian type creature. You've got your wizard with the pointy wizard hat. You have a soldier there, but then you have this guy shooting a laser gun at it. And so this is a blending of fantasy and science fiction. And it's just a really, really cool ed module, which also is the introduction of the Froghemoth. And really, that's all you should ever need to know, is that the Froghemoth came from this module, and that makes it awesome. So again, like the other one, there's probably going to be a couple printings of the original. So they might have, I would suspect, because I'm going to do reviews of these all at some point later, so I'm not going to spoil too much yet. But I suspect that there will be a printing of the tournament version of the module, and then the retail version of the module. And again, it should be updated for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons as well. So really, really happy to have these, and I'm also looking forward to the next book in the series, which isn't out yet, but when it comes out, I will be picking it up. And the fact that I was able to get these, like I said, not only for cheaper than I was expecting, but for less than the price of a modern D&D book, taxes in, makes it a lot easier to justify purchasing these now. But the next installment is going to be before the Lost City. I'm really looking forward to that. But for the meantime, I have these, and I will be doing a review for all of them, although that might not be out until after this video. We'll see how things go. So up next we have a ton of stuff Paizo related here. The first couple things I want to show off are some additions to my flip mat collection. Now I've already done a video showing everything that I've picked up in terms of like the collection of the flip mats that I have for both Pathfinder and Starfinder. But just to make sure that I have these included in the pickup video, the first one I have here is the Starfinder Society Starships. And then we've got the City Market Flip Mat Classic for Pathfinder. So yeah, these are absolutely fantastic. I love the fact that they are re-releasing some of their more popular flip mats, especially considering that I missed out on these all those years ago when they first came out. So it's just cool to see these marketplaces and things like that are places that I've always liked to have some sort of encounter take place. But have surprisingly little to be able to run it with in terms of grid maps or dungeon tiles or stuff like that. So this is absolutely fantastic for that. One of the sides is also blank, so you can draw in any booths or storefronts or anything that you wanted to put in this sort of like a city street that's got the cobblestone thing there. Really, really cool stuff. And then we have the Starfinder Society ships, which just gives us the internal layout of two other types of ships. And these are always great, especially if you're doing like boarding a ship, or you get boarded, or you come across a derelict in space sort of thing. So these are always fantastic. And I just absolutely love these things. Up next, a couple of items sent to me from Paizo for the purposes of doing some reviews. So what we have here are chapters 5 and 6 of the Age of Ashes storyline. So earlier in this video, or in the last pickup video, I can't quite remember, it's been, even though it's the same video, it's been quite a while since I got some of these things. Paizo had sent me the Age of Ashes pawn collection for the purposes of doing a video on the Age of Ashes storyline, but in my local area it's really difficult to track down the 5th and 6th installments of the Adventure Path. Like, most stores only had 1 through 4 available. My local bookstore, which is this national bookstore chain, only had the first book available, and they never got any of the other ones in. I don't quite know why. But anyway, so I finally got these in, so I can get to work on reading through these and doing a comprehensive review on the Age of Ashes storyline. I'm not quite sure if this will be out before that or not. I might try to keep it as spoiler light as possible. We'll see how I feel as things go on and progress. But I really want to thank Paizo for sending these out, because I was having a lot of difficulty tracking these down. Alright, up next we have a bunch of Pathfinder First Edition, Pocket Edition books. So the first two here were ones that I ordered shortly before my birthday in May. Yeah, I think it was just a little bit before that. So this is the Bestiary 1 and Bestiary 2. At the time I'm recording this, I do also have the Bestiary 5 on its way. And the bookstore that I've been ordering stuff online off of over the course of the last few months did get a restock of Bestiaries 3 and 4, so those will be the next things on my list to get. But here we have Bestiary 1 and 2, and what's kind of cool about the Bestiary 2 is that it features quite a few creatures that were also in the second edition Bestiary 2, including the Jabberwock, which was in the second edition Bestiary 2. And things like the Revenant and other monsters that I really liked in the second edition Bestiary 2 were also in the first edition Bestiary 2, which is pretty cool. So really happy to have those. I've never owned any of the Bestiary books before, and for some of these it's my first time ever looking through. Like, I never even opened or looked inside or saw anything that was in the Bestiary 2, so that was pretty cool to have those. And I do want to get all 6 of the Bestiaries at some point. That's sort of the collection goal in terms of getting these. So there's 4 other ones here that were sent to me. And these were actually sent to me by a subscriber. So for if you're watching this, Chris, I really appreciate the fact that you were willing to send these out. They were sent overseas, over from the United Kingdom, and they took so long to get here that I was starting to get worried that they had just gotten lost, because normally the shipping should have been like 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, I think it was, and it ended up being about 6.5 before they finally showed up. But they are here, and I've been just really anxious to look through these. So the first one we have is the Occult Adventures. And what's awesome about this is that it actually has a bunch of core classes in the book, included in the book itself, which is really, really neat. I'm really liking going back and seeing some of the core classes that Pathfinder First Edition had. And things like archetypes and stuff like that are also really, really fantastic. So happy to have that one. Then we also have the Wilderness, or Ultimate Wilderness. So there's a bunch of the Ultimate books. There's I think it's like Ultimate Magic, Ultimate Campaign. Ultimate Campaign is actually really high up on my wish list. So I think after I get the Bestiary 2 and 3, or sorry, 3 and 4, Ultimate Campaign will probably be the first one that I decide to pick up after that. But there's just a few other ones. Ultimate Combat, I think, is another one. And this also has like some core classes in here, some 20 level core classes, and just again some awesome stuff in here as well. And we got some more classes and archetypes and everything else in there, so great stuff there. Then he also sent along the Villain Codex, and this is one that I'm actually really looking forward to going through, because it gives you some new rules and some new concepts that you can use for different enemy types or villain types. So you have like slavers, carnival troops, corrupt guards, death cults, demon knights, diabolical church. There's just all kinds of really interesting, like, sort of archetypes of villains that you can use. But to have new rules for them, some sample NPCs and encounters, just really awesome stuff as well. And then finally, he sent along the Monster Codex, and this book is pretty awesome. This was another one of those ones that was high up on my priority list to get before he offered to send these to me. It has fewer creatures in here overall, but it gives you a wider range of stat blocks and alternate creature types to really fill out encounters. And it's got some of the classic ones here, like bugbears, drow, giants, ghouls, gnolls, goblins, vampires, trolls, orcs, ogres, so kobolds. So just some really awesome stuff in here, and it just, I don't know, I like stuff like this. I just think it's really, really cool to have. So again, I really want to thank you, Chris, for sending these. And what's kind of cool about it is these books here in Canada go for about $25 to $26. So 4 of these books combined would typically go, if you're paying the full cover price in Canadian dollars, you'd be paying a little over $100. It'd be like $104, $106, something like that, plus tax. So it can be kind of expensive to get these. The ones that I've purchased myself are usually on sale for like 20% off or 15% off. But Chris managed to find these over in the UK for, I think he said they were like £3 each, which translates to around $5 Canadian. So he ended up getting $100 worth of books for like for 20 bucks, which is really, really crazy. Now he already had all the hardcovers, so he was willing to send these, and I've just been on such a Pathfinder Pocket Edition kick as of late, that these are just really welcome additions, and it means the world to me that someone will be willing to send something to me. It really means a lot, and these will always have a good home and will always be cherished and taken care of. So thank you very much, Chris. So up next, in terms of pickups, the next thing I have here is a copy of the Gold Dragon, the Young Gold Dragon, the Nolzar's Marvelous Miniatures line. I actually got inspired to pick this up when I saw an unboxing video over on the Blue Dragon RPG Review on their channel. They were opening up some of the 4th edition era D&D minis boosters, and he got a Gold Dragon in there, and I realized that I never actually owned a Gold Dragon mini. So it's almost kind of serendipitous, you could say, because the day after his video went out and I made the comment that I don't actually own a Gold Dragon, my local game store got this in. So this is, I think, one of the newer minis to come out, but it's really cool to finally have a Gold Dragon mini in my collection, and one of these days I'll actually get around to painting it. All right, so the last things here, or I guess I shouldn't say the last things. The last things for this portion of the video, I'm recording this on June the 13th. Yeah, June 13th. So some other Pathfinder related things I picked up either from my local game store or online from one of the bookstores that I deal with. The first one here I actually got from the bookstore. This is a copy of the Pathfinder 1st edition Game Master screen. So I don't know if I'm necessarily going to be opening this up yet or not. I haven't really decided on it. I'm not sure there'll ever come a time where I run 1st edition Pathfinder. Although, to be fair, I find myself more and more open to the possibility as time goes on. But I was just looking up Pathfinder stuff, and this was available. Like, it was in stock and available, and I didn't think it would be possible to find more, like, 1st edition accessories. So I was really kind of surprised to see this there. So just so you have an idea of what the front of the screen looks like, it has all the iconic characters, and then you just have some of your chart stuff on the back. So for now, at least, the plan is just to keep this sealed and just have it be part of my 1st edition Pathfinder collection. But you never know. There is a good possibility that if there's enough interest, I can certainly do an opening video, and we'll go from there. All right, so my local game store just reopened as the pandemic restrictions are starting to ease. So I was able to go in there for the first time in months, which feels kind of weird because I would usually go in almost like every week just to have a look around, and was running several games there. So we're not quite at the point where I'm ready to start running games again. There's still like limits of, I think, 5 to 10 people gathering at any one given time, but it's still, it's still nice to have actually spent a few minutes just walking around that store. And one of the things that I noticed there were some more of what's becoming one of my more recent obsessions, Pathfinder Pocket Edition books. So the first one that I picked up is the Advanced Race Guide. So this is one of the ones that I really was hoping to get, but the online bookstore where I got most of the pocket editions that I have, this has been marked as out of stock, or I shouldn't say out of stock, it's marked as ships within 3 to 5 weeks. But it's been like that for like 2 months, so I'm not overly confident that they're actually going to be getting more in. So this was something that I thought I was going to end up missing out on. But luckily, I went in there and they actually had a larger selection of these pocket editions than I remembered them having. None of them were new arrivals, or at least none of the ones aside from the last one I'm going to show was a new arrival. So I think these were just always in the store. I just never was paying attention to them at the time. So this is something I'll probably do a separate video on at some point as well. But this is one that I'm really, really happy to find. And the other one was one of the books that I wanted the most, which was also marked as ships within 3 to 5 weeks. So this is Ultimate Campaign. So this is one that I think is going to be a blast to go through and read through. It seems like it's honestly a lot of advice or some guidelines to, running campaigns and stuff like that, but it's not necessarily super heavily dependent on a specific rule set. At least that's what I noticed sort of on my first flip through. So there's like a lot of charts, trying to come up with like backgrounds for characters, designing locations. There's even some mass combat rules. So over the course of the next week or so, I hope to sit down, read through this quite a bit, and this very well could be a book that I recommend that's still useful for any edition of any role-playing game, depending on the kind of game style that you want to run. So this is one that I was really excited for because it was just marked as like not available for so long that I didn't think I was going to be able to get my hands on it. But this one looks like it's going to be a blast to go through. And then finally, like I said, for this section of the video, I do have a few more things that are set to arrive within the next, hopefully within the next week or so from the time that I'm recording this portion of the video, because this pickup video has spanned since, well, April, May, and into June now. So it's been quite a while that I've been building some of this stuff up. But the last thing for the June 13th portion is the copy of the brand new released Pathfinder Adventure Path Curse of the Crimson Throne book. Now, this is another one that I'm super excited over. I have the Rise of the Rune Lords, which I think I showed in an earlier part of this video, or it was in the last pickup video that I did, because it's been a while since I recorded that stuff. But I've really always loved the Paizo Adventure Paths. The ones in Dungeon Magazine were what really hooked me on their magazine in the first place, and the company as a whole in the first place. And I always regretted not getting some of the adventures that were coming out for Pathfinder, even if I wasn't interested in the rule set at the time. But I never did, and this is a chance for me to rectify that issue and to get some of these in my collection. Paizo had actually sent me the Curse of the Crimson Throne adventure card game expansion. So it'll be interesting to read through this and then look through the adventure booklet and see, you know, the parallels there. So I think it'll be a lot of fun to do that. But apparently, so this is, like I said, this is the newest book. It just came out, I think, within the last few days. I think this came out the same week that I'm recording this, just earlier in it. My local game store got it in on Wednesday. It's currently Saturday when I'm recording this portion of it. And on Wednesday, I asked them to set it aside for me then. And I even did an internet e-transfer to them just to make sure that it was paid for, because it was going to be a little bit of time before I was able to go get it. But apparently, just looking at the back here, it does seem like there might be some things that are added, or some new aspects to this pocket edition that didn't exist in the hardcover, because it does actually say the softcover edition contains. So I'm not sure what the differences are. I can't find a copy of the hardcover to do direct comparisons for. However, if any of you have the hardcover and can let me know if some of these things are not there, like it says it has all 6 chapters, which is obvious. Expanded and updated for use with the Pathfinder role-playing game, in-depth gazetteer, an array of new options for characters, expansive appendix with statistics, descriptions, background, and rule support, a bestiary, and dozens of new illustrations, never before seen characters, locations, maps, extensive encounter locations, and more. So this is one that I hope to do a full video of at some point in the very near future, but for the time being, like I said, I just picked this up a few hours ago. So I haven't had a chance to go through it yet, but this was one that I was really excited for, and I do hope that Paizo continues to compile some of their old adventure paths and put them into physical print in these pocket editions, because I'm really getting hooked on the idea of pocket editions. I haven't honestly at this point ruled out the possibility of either giving away to a friend of mine like my hardcover Pathfinder first edition rulebook, core rulebook, in exchange for getting the pocket edition. It's something that I'm still honestly kind of floating because I love these books so much. But anyway, so that is the latest things that I've added up to and including June 13th, 2020. So up next, I have what at this point in time I'm considering to be the last of the first edition Pathfinder stuff I was looking to go back and collect, but these are the remaining Bestiary books. So we have Bestiary 3, Bestiary 4, Bestiary 5, and the Bestiary 6. So these books are all awesome. They all seem to have sort of their different themes to them. There's some undead, and I think some I want to say like literary creatures, like mythological creatures, I think, in the Bestiary 3. Bestiary 4 has some Lovecraftian influence, as you can see Cthulhu there right on the front cover. Bestiary 5, I think, just has some, it's a bit more of a mishmash. And then Bestiary 6 contains the Archdevils, or a bunch of the Archdevils. So just really awesome stuff all over. And these pocket editions are absolutely fantastic. I can't say enough good things about these. This is something that if these didn't exist, then I probably would never have gone back to pick up any of the first edition Pathfinder stuff. So I'm glad that these are out and that these are a thing, because I feel like that would be a huge gap in my collection. Like, even before I was really aware of these, I always felt sort of this guilt for not collecting first edition Pathfinder stuff. But now I've been able to remedy that. These things are absolutely awesome. So I'm glad that I ended up getting all of these as well. So up next, in terms of pickups, I actually had the opportunity to go down to my local game store and actually, go inside and talk to the owner, and ended up hanging out there for a lot longer than I was originally anticipating. But it was really nice to get out and actually just sort of have a conversation about like gaming stuff. We talked gaming, we talked old TV shows, movies, wrestling, all kinds of stuff. It was actually really great. I really enjoyed it. But I also picked up a couple things. So the first thing I picked up is this Pathfinder Flip Mat Classic Cathedral map. So this is a double-sided battle map. I recently did a video showing the collection of ones that I'd had up until like a week before I picked this up. And so this gives you two different cathedrals. One is dedicated to the force of good, which would be, I assume is probably this one here. And then you've got one dedicated sort of to the force of evil. Just gives you sort of two different looks at a cathedral type of environment. And I've actually used cathedrals in several adventures that I've done in the past. It's just a setting or a location that I like to use. So to actually have a proper map for it now is going to be absolutely fantastic. It was $14.99 US, and I think it was like $20, $19.99 Canadian is what I ended up paying. So we got that. But the other thing that I picked up, and this is a total impulse buy because I didn't even know that this was a thing, but I ended up picking up the Elder Scrolls Call to Arms Tabletop Battles in the World of Tamriel from Modifice. And they are the ones that did the Star Trek Adventures RPG. So I sort of have an idea. They usually, from the Star Trek thing at least, the experience that I've had with that, they do pretty good quality stuff. So I'm kind of looking forward to looking at this. Now, the actual unboxing video and everything will probably be out before this pickups video comes out, since I'm still waiting on a few things and I want to have everything that I had ordered during quarantine all in one video. And I'm actually going to record the unboxing for this directly after I record this section of the pickup video. But it looks kind of interesting. It's got a lot of board game stuff here, so I don't know if this is necessarily an RPG, or if it's sort of like a hybrid of RPG board game. It'll be interesting to kind of see what we have here. This gives you like 5 hero cards, 13 follower and adversary cards, 6 faction reference cards, more than 200 quests, events, traps, items, and spell cards, 1 white skill dice, 3 green accuracy dice, 3 black, 3 red, and 3 yellow effect dice, which I think is kind of more like the Star Wars RPG that was done not too long ago. In terms of how the dice, I'll know more about it when I actually get a chance to read through it. 104-page complete core rulebook, quest book with 12 missions, escape from Helgen, quick start guide, and miniatures are available separately. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see sort of what this is like here. So yeah, really cool to have that. I've had sort of mixed experiences with Elder Scrolls stuff. I recently, goodoldgames.com, recently, like I ordered, or I paid for something else. I can't remember what it was. I want to say, I can't remember what it was now, but when I went to go to my library to download stuff, they had just put Elder Scrolls 1 Arena and Daggerfall Elder Scrolls 2 just in my library. Like I never paid for them. I didn't do anything to acquire them, but they just put them in my account. So they've been doing some stuff with free games, so I'm assuming it was something along those lines. I haven't played them yet, but I'm looking forward to doing that. I used to own Morrowind, and I enjoyed that quite a bit as well. Unfortunately, I just never got super far into it. Oblivion, I know a lot of people love that game, but I had some serious frustrations with it in their like wanted system sort of thing. It annoyed me to the point where I just stopped playing, and I had purchased a copy of the game, and then I immediately sold it because it was just that frustrating for me. But Skyrim I really enjoyed, and I'm actually sort of recently started going through it again. So yeah, and this sort of looks, it's got like the Skyrim sort of style logo there. So this will be interesting to go through, and I'm looking forward to opening it up. So there we go. Up next on my pickups is actually one of the first items that I purchased at the beginning of the pandemic, and it took a little over 2 months to finally get here. This is the Council of Spiders, one of the D&D Encounter seasons for D&D 4th edition. So this was for organized play at your local game store, and it's one that just takes place in Menzo Berenzin, involves the Drow, which is one of my favorite locations and one of my favorite races in D&D. So this actually looks like it's going to be sort of an interesting read-through. It's in color, although the stat blocks are done in black. However, if you look at the maps, for example, the tactical maps are all in full color. So it just looks like it's going to be kind of fun to read through and maybe even adapt for an Underdark-based D&D game. So yeah, this this is something that I ordered, and it's shipped out. It initially shipped on April 15th of 2020, and it didn't arrive until June. What's today? The 23rd, I think it is. So it took a long time to finally get here, but I'm glad that it finally did. I was actually 1 day away from it being over 9 weeks for it to arrive, so I was about to have to contact them and let them know that it didn't arrive, but thankfully it did, and I really look forward to adding this to my collection and giving it a read-through. So it took a while to get there, but to me, it was worth it. All right, up next for my quarantine pickups, I actually grabbed quite a few things from my local game store. Like I said, they've been reopening, and it was great. Went down, hung out with, and spoke with the game store owner again for a couple hours, and it was, again, just really nice to get out. And I feel like the quarantine pickups video is finally starting to reach the end here, because the next step for us is having all three of the maritime provinces, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island, all be part of like the same bubble where you can travel and be with people within those provinces. So we're getting there. But like I said, today I went to the local game store, picked up quite a few things actually. The first one I'm going to show here is the Starfinder Near Space Pawn Collection. So I'm a big fan of pawns in general, and there are a few sets from Starfinder that I am still missing, but I'm hoping to eventually take care of all that, fill in all those gaps in the collection. But for now, the Near Space one, absolutely love the Near Space book. I love their campaign settings, and I think they've done a really good job with that one as well. So I've got some of the pawns to go along with that as well, which is cool. I also picked up for Starfinder the Starfinder Flip Tiles Space Station Starter Set. So this contains 42 full color map tiles that you can use to create your own space station adventures or locations. It gives you a sample one on the back here, and they're double-sided. So with the 42, there's sort of like 82 different or 84 different cards or tiles that you could choose from. And yeah, it's got like regular rooms, corridors, control rooms, medical labs, airlocks, and elevators. So there's lots of stuff here, and this is the first base set or starter set that I've ever picked up for any type of these tiles products. So I'm really looking forward to doing the unboxing video for that. I previously had a Pathfinder expansion set, but it'll be kind of cool to have the actual starter set to go along with that. Also today I picked up two things that I didn't know were actually going to be a thing. I was hoping they were going to be a thing, but I didn't actually know that they were. I picked up the Pathfinder 2nd edition arcane spell cards and the focus spell cards. So there are 4 decks in total. The other 2 I actually have set aside, and I'm hoping to pick up within the next week or so. But they had the Arcane spell cards. Actually, the game store only got 1 of these in, and he was willing to hold it for me, which was great. I went down just a few hours later to pick it up. So there's Arcane, Occult, and then there is Primal, and there were the Focus cards. I think that's it. I don't know if there was a Divine one. If there's a Divine deck, it hasn't actually come out yet. But those were the ones available. These were the first 2 that I wanted to get. I definitely wanted the Arcane one, and I decided to pick up the Focus card box as well, because this is something that is useful for all the classes. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how these turn out, because Paizo's accessories have been top-notch to date, and I can't imagine these being any exception. So again, really looking forward to cracking these open and having a look. The actual unboxing and review videos have probably already been released by the time this video comes out. But like I said, I want to keep a rolling log of when I picked up some of these things during the COVID-19 lockdowns and restrictions and protocols. So at this point, it's June 24th when I'm recording this section, and those were my pickups for today. Right, up next, I went back to my local game store, and I decided to impulse buy this first thing here, which is going to be a pre-release kit for Magic the Core Set 2021. It's been a while since I've done anything Magic related on the channel, and I don't necessarily plan on getting back into it all that much, but the core set honestly kind of interests me, and it's not often that I've had the opportunity to purchase an actual pre-release kit. Because of the the COVID restrictions and limitations on gatherings and things along those lines, events at local game stores are not really able to happen as of yet. So they have their pre-release weekend. They just had all this stuff out available for sale, and I actually bought some other stuff and went to leave the store, but I decided, you know what the heck, and went back in and decided to pick that up. I was also given a couple of promo cards while I was in there. The first was the Welcome Back promo, which is the Mechagodzilla battle. Whoops, hand's not quite as steady as it used to be. Mechagodzilla Battle Fortress. So this is a creature that costs X and X. So whatever X cost you want to pay, you have to pay it twice. It's a 0/0, but it comes into play with X +1/+1 counters on it. And when it dies, you create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature with flying for each counter that was on it. And for 1 and tapping this, you can put another counter on it. This takes the place of the Hanger Back Walker. Since, like, with the Ikaris, or the Ikori, however you pronounce it, the last set that they did, it had like these behemoth type creatures, and they did like this Godzilla alternate art for a lot of stuff. It's not necessarily my cup of tea, but it was a card that was, given to me just for purchasing something Magic related, and I'm not gonna lie, it is pretty cool looking. And even though I'm not the hugest Godzilla fan, I always loved Mechagodzilla, so really cool to have that. And then the second promo was the Reliquary Tower, which is, I guess, a really good commander card, I think. I don't know much about it, but it's a land card. You can tap it for 1 colorless, but if you have this in play, you don't have a maximum hand size, which can be really handy. So really cool to have those as well. I will be doing an opening video for the core set, the pre-release pack on this channel, but I don't think I'm going to be opening all 6 boosters necessarily, or whatever's included inside here. I don't even know how many boosters are in this, to be honest. I think it's still 6. But I do like to collect some sealed packs as well, so if there's one with like a Liliana artwork on it, I'll be keeping one of those sealed. So we'll see what the other stuff is in here, and the promo and the spin down counter and all that, and it's just, I don't know, it's just gonna be cool to have something like this again, so really happy to have that. I also picked up 2 more of the Pathfinder spell cards. So here we have the occult spells, and here we have the primal spells. I should have my arcane spell card opening video done and up before this comes out. Although we are coming to near the end of this pickup video, as restrictions and stuff are starting to lift in our province. Actually, the next step is opening all of the Atlantic provinces, which is Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, and Newfoundland. they're going to be open to traveling to and from each other without like quarantine or anything. So as far as our province is concerned, we're almost at the end of the restrictions. So this will probably be the second last section of this video. That's been taking quite a while to do, actually. But anyway, so I've got those. And then the last thing, this was a product sent to me by Wizards of the Coast for the purposes of doing a review. But this is Scooby-Doo Betrayal at Mystery Mansion. So I already did videos for the Betrayal at Baldur's Gate game, and this is very similar to that. It's like similar to the Betrayal at House on the Hill, I think it's called. And I loved the Baldur's Gate game, and I grew up loving Scooby-Doo. So when they actually reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in receiving this to do a video for, I absolutely took them up on it because I wasn't even aware that this was a thing, but you know, it was. And it arrived like 3 weeks, more than 3 weeks before the actual release date. So I don't know when the actual unboxing video is going to come out. I was considering doing it all as one part. I'm actually going to contact them and see if there's a date that they want the videos to be put off until. But anyway, for the very least, I'm not showing anything other than the box itself. So this is Scooby-Doo Betrayal at Mystery Mansion. So up next is actually another package sent by Wizards of the Coast. So the first thing here is a review copy of Mythic Odysseys of Theros. So shortly after this video goes up, I will have my flip through and review videos. Hopefully they'll be coming shortly thereafter. But this is one that I'm really looking forward to. I was honestly very harsh on the Ravnica setting, and I was really, willing to completely dismiss it when it was first announced. And actually, for a while, it took me, quite a while before I finally decided to pick it up and purchase it. And it kind of turned into one of my favorite campaign settings, at least of the ones that have been put out for 5th edition by Wizards. It's definitely up there for me. So this is one that I'm really looking forward to flipping through and going through. So thanks again to Wizards of the Coast for sending this. I eagerly await the opportunity to flip through and learn more about it. All right, another D&D related thing here. Here we have issue number 4 of the Dungeons & Dragons comic Infernal Tides. Now, I was looking through, and I just don't know if I missed it in the earlier clips that I recorded for this video, because this video's been like almost 3 months in the making, so there's a lot of things that I've just recorded in the meantime since I started. But I honestly cannot find issue number 3, and I want to say issue number 3 was one that released, or was scheduled to release, right around the time that my local game store ended up shutting down. So I, contacted them and asked if they can order in issue number 3, so that should be coming hopefully within the next week or so. So at this point, I'm not going to read issue 4, but issues 1 and 2 were really, really great, and I'm really enjoying the storyline. I like it better than the actual Descent into Avernus adventure. I like this comic adaptation quite a bit more, so it'll be interesting to see how issues 3 and 4 go. I think there's a 5th issue coming out as well, so we'll see how that is, but yeah, so really happy to have that. Alright, and just switching gears a little bit here. So I am a huge wrestling fan and have been for quite some time. So this next pickup is Wrestlemania from 2020. I believe this is Wrestlemania 36. And it's actually the first wrestling video that I've ever picked up on Blu-ray. Usually only DVDs are available for this, or I should say they're the only ones that the stores in my area typically get in, but they actually had the Blu-ray for it. So I spent like the extra $2 to get the Blu-ray here. And again, absolutely, this year's WrestleMania was sort of polarizing, but I have to say, I really liked I liked the women's tag match at the beginning of day 1. I liked the match with Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair was great. The Kevin Owens match with Seth Rollins was good. And of course, like the Boneyard match was, for me, the highlight of the entire show. I also liked the Firefly Funhouse match because it's all about symbolism, and there's a lot of very direct comparisons between John Cena and Hulk Hogan that are made throughout the match. And I don't know, it's just sort of like a descent into hell sort of thing for Cena, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really, really good. Interestingly enough, the worst matches of the night happened to be the world title matches. The Universal title match was pretty much, a a non-issue, and the match with Brock Lesnar and Drew McIntyre was literally 3 moves between the two people. So anyway, but I have all the other WrestleManias, and like I said, the Boneyard match was great. And if it is Undertaker's last match, it's the one to go out on, I think. But I'm still in the process, or I shouldn't say in the process. I have all the WrestleManias to date, so this one's definitely no exception. Alright, and finally we are going to wrap this video up with some stuff for Pathfinder. The first thing I want to show is for Pathfinder First Edition, and that is the Horror Adventures, the Pocket Edition. So this is the softcover version, and that pretty much completes my Pocket Edition collection, I think, for First Edition Pathfinder. The only other book that I'd really want to get for it would be Pathfinder Unchained. There's things like Ultimate Magic and Ultimate Equipment that might be nice to have as well, but I'm not really, going to go out of my way for those. But this was one of the ones that I really wanted to get. And with all the others, I'd like to think that I have a pretty decent First Edition Pathfinder collection. So yeah, this was, I think, for me, the perfect way to cap it off. So we got that. And then for Second Edition Pathfinder, I also picked up the Divine spell cards. So I have the Occult, the Primal, the Arcane, and the Focus spells. This was the last one that was needed. My local game store wasn't able to get them all the first week that they released, but the following week they ended up getting the Divine cards in. He automatically set one aside for me. So now I have the complete set of Pathfinder 2nd Edition spell cards, and these things are pretty awesome. Really, really love those. And the last things here are all sort of connected together. But these are installments for the Pathfinder 2nd Edition Adventure Path Extinction Curse. Now, I do want to do a full review series on both the Age of Ashes storyline as well as the Extinction Curse storyline. So in order to do that, I needed to get more than just the first issue of the Extinction Curse, which was sent to me when it was first released by Paizo. These ones here were all items that I purchased myself. But we have the Extinction Curse issue number 2, 2 out of 6. This is Legacy of the Lost God. And like I said, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here in this video, but I do plan, like I said, I'm doing a full Extinction Curse and Age of Ashes storyline review. And then there's issue number 3, part 3 of 6, Life's Long Shadow. And to show the back there as well. Then we have issue number 4, Lord of the Black Sands. This one actually looks really interesting to me. This is the one that I think I'm most looking forward to getting a chance to read. And then we have issue number 5, Siege of Dinosaurs. Issue number 6, I believe, is available now, but I do, as far as if I understand correctly based on the emails, I should be receiving that from Paizo to round out the collection. So they actually just went ahead and mentioned that they sent it to me, and I actually never asked for it. I'm glad that they did though, but then I realized that it's not good to have parts 1 and 6 and nothing in between. So basically, with the last of my money, I went out and ended up picking up the other installments. So this is where this extensive months-long pickup video comes to a close. I think the last pickup video that I did was for the first part of April, maybe midway through. So we're looking at all of May, all of June, July, and probably half of April. So we're looking at about a 3-month-long video in terms of how long it's taken to record these parts. But it's been sort of an interesting journey. I was really happy to pick these things up because I just needed something to help pass the time and just sort of focus my mind and just to really be a distraction to all the things that have been going on in the world the last few months. Things are starting to open up here in Nova Scotia, though. Our cases are pretty much down almost to zero, and so our local game stores reopened. I've been able to spend some time down there talking to the owner and hanging out and picking up some things. So it's like I said, I think we're sort of slowly getting back to normal. But at this point, I feel like this is a good place to end this pickup video. So let me know in the comments below, what are some of the things that you guys have impulse bought during the pandemic to keep your minds occupied? I always like to know what you guys managed to find or managed to acquire. And yeah, I think this period of time was something where I feel like a lot of people, I've talked to a lot of people, and it seems like the consensus was that they would just sort of buy things that they've always sort of put off, just to have something to do. And that's essentially what I've done. There was a lot of things that I wasn't necessarily, probably wouldn't have gotten normally, but when you look at being stuck at home for several months without the ability to even step outside your apartment door, you need to find some things to do to keep you from going insane. And these things have helped immensely with that, and you guys have helped immensely with that as well. So I really want to thank each and every one of you that stuck by and followed the channel throughout all this period of time. It really does mean a lot to me. So thank you very much for all that. And like I said, let me know what some of the things that you picked up during quarantine that you may not normally have otherwise gotten, but did just because you needed something. So thanks again. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care.